got the biggest in the... Good trading with you, Agent.
Hey, everybody. I'm not certain who is in. Hey, Garrick. Well, I just launched. I'm actually still getting this build ready, or at least trying to. I probably am going to go try it out before we get it perfected. But the intention is, to try and get this build as close to perfect as possible. I'm on my mule character right now, so the stats on this build are nowhere near what they need to be. But essentially, when this gets finished, it's 4 pieces of strikers, all rolled to a skill tier. Hey, ISO. 3 of them have skill or crit chance. This one has crit damage. We've got a Cheska piece with weapon damage, with crit chance and crit damage. And we've got the Henri with crit chance and weapon handling. And I'm going to roll that over to crit damage. So this is a crit build, but with 6 skill tiers, you can probably guess which assault rifle we're going to run that builds its damage off of skill tiers. So what did I say? Recalibration, body armor. That one needs to go to crit damage. So I started working on this last night and had some family stuff come up, so I couldn't finalize this last night. So I apologize. The first part of this is going to be somewhat monotonous as I recalibrate and optimize everything. But I did a couple of runs through Countdown and managed to get this one to drop. It already had, well, they always drop with a skill tier, but this one actually had crit chance with something that I could roll off and change it to crit damage. So we're all the way through this build, where possible, it's crit chance, crit damage. So on this character with no watch levels applied, we're currently sitting at 34 and 60, basically. Cool. This part's, like I said, going to be somewhat dry, simply because it's just exactly that. It's me running around trying to get stuff for optimization. The gloves. Okay, could do that once. Holster's an easy one. We just need, or knee pads are easy. We just need knee pads up to 75. So that one's a quick fix. And we need protective fabric. All right, so probably going to run something as a backup like the Harmony, simply because I have it, and it's a good backup to have to an assault rifle. You can really run what you consider to be your best in slot as your secondary. My hope is that we don't need it, so it's likely going to end up a placeholder. But you need to have something that's viable with the build. So just in case you shoot your assault rifle ammo out completely, which I've done before solo heroic. And no knee pads, no gloves. All right.
Glad we got that settled.
Basically, I am just going from vendor to vendor. I'm trying to find knee pads and or masks, because those are the things that I'm working on currently. We're going to get this optimized, then we're going to dump it all back in my stash and throw it on. I'm actually going to run this on my secondary character, which does not have watch levels applied, to see how it performs. So this one has gloves and knee pads. We'll do both.
Thanks, Agent.
Yeah, exactly. It's my favorite to run as a secondary for a skill-based build. This one is, the way I'm putting this together with strikers, it leans more heavily into the weapon itself. With the Henri, and I don't know if you caught it, the Henri has the perfect companion. The Cheska backpack has companion, so I'm leaning into the double companion. So I'm definitely leaning into the rifle, or sorry, weapon damage side of the hybrid rather than the skill side. just to see, I started, I was already putting this together, and then another content creator put out this exact build basically. Uh, I'm not using exactly the same parts and components, but you'll get, that's basically, it was like, okay, I'm thinking in parallel with somebody else again as usual, and we're gonna run with this. So they beat me to the punch, though. I mean, to be fair, their video came out yesterday or Sunday, but I think it was Monday. So credit where credit's due. This one is, oh goodness, it was it's not Rogue Gold. It was Tuxedo Bandito. I had it out. So like I said, credit where credit's due. I was already assembling the pieces, but again, beat me to the punch.
Glad you're here.
I don't remember what I just bought.
I appreciate the purchase.
Actually, I'm going to be, because this one doesn't, I'm going to be running Technician class, so I don't have any armor on kill. I don't have any way to regenerate armor, so I'm actually going to be I'm going to follow his lead on this and actually run the healer drone, and then probably the assault turret. Again, because you can tuck in behind cover right behind your turret. It's not always the safest way to run it, but you can definitely do that.
Thanks, Agent. You happy? I'm happy.
We had 41.
Good to see you, Agent.
6, 7, 48, 49, 50. Which I think is 49 because, math. Oh, very cool. Thank you. That was 48. I can't count. The rest we're going to put back into gloves because that was the next one I needed to work on.
Enjoy it.
So, like I said, at this point, this is somewhat dry because it's exactly, this is, I think, or for me, the most efficient way to get some of the materials that you're going to need, because this is giving me both, in this case, glove weave when I break them down, plus protective fabric, which I'm going to need to make more. The really expensive one, I think, is going to be the backpack, because it had a long way to go. That one I had to craft. I tried farming for it, wasn't getting anything close to what I wanted, so I started crafting. And I honestly don't know how many I rolled before I finally got one to drop with crit chance, crit damage, so that I could switch the talent. And it was at the point where it's like, I'm done. I don't want to use up any more resources trying to get this thing to drop. So yeah, it's going to use up most of this character that we just ran through on Sunday night, but that's what these characters are here for. They're here for the materials. So Lano won't be happy to hear that little Lano's getting used up and about to get spit out, but I can build another one.
It's a pleasure to do business with you.
And again, for those of you who follow me regularly, I'm on call this week. So as on-call manager, the phone could ring at any time, and I'm going to have to disappear to manage something. So hopefully we're left alone, but I wouldn't count on it. So we'll get in as much as we can, but if I have to take a break, if it's going to be an extended break, I will come back and let everybody know. If it's a quick break, I'm just going to put the Be Right Back screen up, and we'll take 5 or 10 or whatever it takes.
Nice doing business with you.
All right, so let's see what we got for resources now. That's a really good start. And we've got not much in the way of mask weave, but we can make more. So So how's everybody's week going thus far? I know it's early in the week. Let's see where we're at here first. So that should take care of this. That one's fully researched. The gloves are next. So they're fully joy. Mask is good. Body armor, we need the chance up, the crit damage. So let's do this one next. So this is Black Tusk, and these are chest pieces. Now, basically from here to about here is, so that's one recycle or one optimization cycle, and then it's going to be 2, 3, I think it's 4, it might be 5. So it goes up. You can see here it's 32 to finish this one. The next one I believe is 50. 50, 65. No, I don't remember. Regardless, we're going to need about 225 to 250 chest weaves to go along with everything else that we see here. Plus, we're going to need more of these. So we will start with the easy one. I'm going to take this up to 75 because it's a nice round even number, and that should be sufficient. It might require one more. And then we need chest weave. And like I said, this one is going to be somewhat expensive. I could go buy more chest pieces, but we will use up what we have here in terms of materials. And you can see that protective fabric is the most expensive component that we're going to use up in this. It's going to deplete the fastest. Carbon fiber is the least expensive, but it's harder to farm for, or in this case, for each watch level that you're going to use toward it, it's only 25, whereas the ceramics are 50. So it's expensive. Ceramics are actually cheaper than carbon fiber when you look at it from that perspective. So I'm going to take this up to 224, and we'll see where we're at. All right, so now what we're going to need one more set of these for 25. So we're going to need 50 of these and 70 and then 75. So 145 chest weaves. So I'm going to need more materials. Because we were getting low on polycarbonate. We're getting low on ceramics. And we are getting low on, what's the other one? Carbon fiber. I think it was carbon fiber. Jeff, I'm going to be polite and not say what ran through my mind, but jealous. Let's just put it at that. Jealous. All right, so that should be enough of that so we can get the chest done. All right, so this one's fully researched. So let's have a quick look and see where we're at now from a stats perspective, because it's going to be similar. We're now up to 38.2 chance and 58.8 damage. And the last piece is going to be the backpack. And like I said, this one's going to be somewhat expensive because I've got to do both. I want to get the chance up first. So The way chance rolls is it goes in 0.5 increments. I don't know if you were paying attention to that. So this is going to round to 4.5. So that would be 1. And then 5 is 2. 5.5 is 3. So it's 4 cycles of crit chance. And for that, we need, that is True Sons. And we're going to need a lot of backpack. So for the backpacks, I'm just going to have a quick look at my resources. We are going to need to buy backpacks, basically, because we're going to need more protective fabric. So I'm just seeing who has what. And we get Bellstone here at 6773, if someone can remember that number for me. And whisper it back in my ear.
Nice to see you, Agent.
6787, the other one's 6773. So of the two vendors that are here, the regular front vendor, and I don't know if you guys knew this, I'm sure that you did, but the vendor that's here in the courtyard is a mirror of the one that's opposite the specialization desk. It's the same inventory, same pricing. So make sure that we're on backpacks and take out some more cash. White House Belltone 6673. All right. There it is. 6773. Was a typo, right? And now I get to spam the spacebar, which I think you saw me do. Basically what I'm doing is I run a small keyboard just to keep my desk somewhat organized because I've got other gear on here. But with this, basically, there's two ways to do it, is just keep hammering on the spacebar, or you can actually do a double like this. It's a little noisier that way, but it's actually, what I find is the muscles in my forearm fatigue almost as quickly doing it this way. So that's one way to do it. The other way is with the control pad that I run. This is a Tartarus Pro made by Razer. This is a spacebar as well on this side where my thumb would rest. And it's the same thing. It's just, it's more of a mechanical piece as opposed to the Apple keyboard, which is a very short throw on the spacebar. So I find that that's easier. Not to completely nerd out on what gear I'm using to hammer on a spacebar, but we're going to nerd out on what I'm using to hammer on a spacebar. And past self forgot to remind self to fill up water bottle before stream. Nope, I do have another water bottle here from my bike ride earlier. It's just that one's really noisy. I'm sure you heard all of that through the microphone. And ISO, your relative weekend is going well so far, or is going well enough. I completely understand that. With the job that I have, it's shift work. So an awful lot of my time in life was spent with my weekend being Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday, or something like that. Which worked for me with when my kids were young because I could hang out with them and do stuff with them. Later in my career, it ended up being a 4-day work weekend, if you will, or a 4-day work week and 3 days off. So I had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off for it was like 2 years in a row. And at that time, my daughter was in dancing every Tuesday and Thursday night. So I had the opportunity to drive her the half an hour each direction to her dance, where I would turn the radio off on purpose and we would talk, which is rare these days, getting that opportunity to hang out with your teenage children like that. So anyway, I digress. Let's see where we're at in terms of materials. And we're working on a backpack. We're at 235. I think we're going to need north of 300, so I'm going to make what I can here. Like I said, I'm going to concentrate on the chance first. I know, right? um, it's been a weird life at times. What? Did I get the wrong shit? No, I just didn't get the True Sons. Oops. Yeah, it was important to me. And it was it is really interesting. I mean, my daughter is mini me. She is I haven't nerded out a whole lot about coffee on here, but I quit drinking 26 years ago, and 15 years ago I bought my first espresso machine. It was a cheap Breville, and I've just gone face first down that rabbit hole where as much as I nerd out about this game, I nerd out about coffee. Anyway, she ended up as a barista, managing a cafe. So I got her started because as soon as she could see over the counter, she started making espresso. And then when she graduated from high school, she got her first job at one of the cafes that I used to frequent because I happened to see when I was in there one day that they were hiring. And then the end of the first week, she came home and said, "Okay, we're doing this all wrong. Here's what we need to change." And it's been down that rabbit hole ever since. So we're going to go with chance first. And I forgot, it's actually 3 attributes. This is going to be, and I know I shouldn't swear on my own streams, but this is going to be really fucking expensive from a materials perspective. And I'm going to get the whoops, that's not what I meant to do. It's that one. So after chance, we're going to work on damage, and we don't have enough. We need flags. Now there's 2 ways to get flags. One is directly with these field recon data, rather, not flags. So with this, we get 2 for every point, which is likely the best way to manage it. I'm just going to take this back up to 500-ish. I'm being mindful of how many points I have left. And I'm just rounding that off because it's not that I have OCD, mind you, but I ingest with my work partner is, you know, I don't claim that I have OCD. I claim that I have CDO, and that would be OCD, but the letters are alphabetized. So, all right. So what are we out of now? We're back to backpacks. So let's see how many materials we have before we need to purchase backpacks again. And the reason I'm saying it out loud is because in the past I've inadvertently selected chest weave, made a ton of them, and then realized I needed backpacks. So I tend to say this stuff out loud, mostly for my own, making sure that I get the right stuff. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm a massive nerd, Garrick. You know, I'm that guy. Now, I'm 57. I started high school in 1981. Yeah, 1981. And took my first computer course at that point. Like, this is back to the point before the original IBM PC. I learned on, if you guys remember the Commodore 64, the predecessor to that was the Commodore PET. It had 16K of memory, RAM, no hard drive. It was basically you booted to one of the original versions of DOS. Or I don't even think it was DOS. It was just the bootloader. And from there you had a cassette tape deck that I could load BASIC, or I could load a couple of very simple games. And it was literally, you would fast forward or rewind until the tape counter was approximately where the start of the next program was, hit play, and it would load in that way. It was brutal, but that was my first dabbling with computers. Graduated from high school in '84. And when I got to university was around the time the original IBM PC came out. And that was a massive upgrade because it had more RAM. I don't remember what it had, but we're still talking about, X number of K of RAM. We still weren't into megs yet. And it had a hard drive, but it was friggin' tiny. I think the hard drive was 100 megabytes. So that's how far we've come in 30 years. All right, I need cash. But yes, nerd, proud of it. And we want backpacks. Yes. Yeah, takes one to know one. But it's call it nerd, call it, knowing what I like, and it happens to be technology based, and it has served me very well in my career. By training, I am actually a pilot. I work for an airline in Canada and ended up doing the flight training side of things. So yes, I used to fly the line, but mostly what my jobs have been for the last 25 years or so is flight training. So not teaching people to fly, teaching people to fly a specific airplane. And then because of my computer skills, I ended up in the program management end of the training program. So as it sits right now, I actually design, maintain, update, all of those things, the entire training program for the airline that I work at. It's not just me, it's a team, but I am one of the people responsible for all of that. So the nerdiness of my personality has definitely served me well in my career, in my working career. And part of the reason I think that, I'm able to get across some of the concepts in the delivery is I've been doing adult education for 25 years, just in a much different form. This is a passion both of them actually are. Aviation was certainly a passion early on in my career. But like anything else, as soon as you start getting paid to do something and as soon as it becomes a job, a lot of the enjoyment tends to leave. To put it in very plain English, my job as an airline pilot is to make the flight as boring as possible. Nobody likes an exciting flight. But guess what that means if you're sitting up at the pointy end of the aircraft? It's really fucking boring. So it's not as glamorous as it appears, and it's certainly not as well paying as people think it is. You struggle a long, long time in that career before you start making any kind of cash. Like really for me, it's only been in the last 10 years that things have gotten to the point where it's like, okay, we're comfortable. So, which is probably true of an awful lot of careers. And as soon as I finish getting this, I'm not going to mute the stream, but I've got to turn the fan on and open the window. I forgot to do that before we started, and it's really interesting. This setup is actually pushed into a closet. You can't see it from your view with the webcam, but the computer's in here as well, and the heat buildup there's heat buildup from the PC, so I need to keep in. Plus, like a dummy, it's on the East Coast right now. It's raining and cold. It's I don't know, about 60 degrees and drizzly, rainy. So I've been wearing a hoodie all day long. And now that I'm sat here in front of the computer, I'm like, good Lord, I'm warm. So. And Jeff, I'm just reading back. I just saw that you hit expertise 23 and you got your St. Elmo's at 20. That's awesome, dude. I'm at 23 as well, and I'm nowhere near that on my St. Elmo's because I've been focused on other things and not been out looking for exotics. All right, components. I mean, at the end of the day, still the best way to get them is in the DZ, which I'll be honest, there's a lot of trepidation with me going into the DZ because of St. Elmo's, because of some of the videos I've been watching with people, I know there are counters to it, and I know like anything else, it's mostly about attitude going in, but like anything, it's been a while since I've been in there, and there's a little bit of trepidation with going back in, which, yeah, it is what it is. Open world, the next best thing is heroic control points. With those, there's a 10% chance that when you open up the chest at the other end of it, that you'll get an exotic component. But the landmark caches, that's a 25%, which is a really significant bump up in probability. Now we are looking for backpack weave. We've got 254, so let's see where we're at from a build or optimization perspective. And we're going to need more True Sons. But yeah, it was a grind to get my expertise up. But it was just like anything that I do in this game. Once I get focused on something, it tends to be, that's what I'm focused on. That's what I'm working on. That is my character in a nutshell. Is once I'm focused on a goal, it's like a dog, like certain breeds of dogs with a bone or a stick in their mouth. It's just go. We won't go under 1,000 for now, and that's not for any reason other than I just don't want to yet. All right, so that maxes out the weapon damage. The reason I do crit damage last is I've got some really good crit damage mods. Fastest way to, well, there's no real fast way to do it. The crappy part about working the expertise bench is once you've got your gear and brand sets maxed out, things tend to slow right down. Because now you're into named items or things like that, which are harder and harder and harder to do. So it's mostly about using resources. Until you hit about 13, 15, somewhere around there, the best way to gain it is just go equip what you want the expertise in and go do missions, because the kill XP is going to boost the proficiency of your pieces, which is what ultimately is driving your expertise. At the end of every mission, mark everything as junk, come back here, hit expertise, and then hit X, which is donate all junk. And then those pieces will also go into boosting it. But it becomes diminishing returns somewhere around 13 or 15 because all your normal non-named pieces are already maxed out. At that point, for example, with rifles in the 1886, using that as an example, I can upgrade at this point, but it used to be that I could actually go in here and donate resources toward it. And the most efficient resource to use is printer filament. So you can farm countdown for gear mods is one way to do it. The other way to do it is just to invest watch levels in cash and then purchase mods and break them down. That's the most efficient use of time in terms of bang for buck from resources, is to donate printer filament toward the proficiency of your pieces. It's a slow process though. It has gotten progressive for me. Toward the end, it got easier and easier because my watch level was going up, because I was doing a lot of open world stuff on purpose. Resource convoys and not so much control points, but resource convoys, and basically exactly what everyone's recommending right now is propaganda broadcasts, hostage rescues. Resource convoys are still good. And in fact, in some, depending on what metric you're using to describe XP, but on heroic with multiple directives running, In terms of XP gain per second, resource convoys are still at the top of the list for efficiency. They're just not as good as they used to be. So what I tend to do is I'll go into a specific area and farm it. So the best area is the area right around here because this area is just absolutely chock-a-block for full of stuff. And as long as you don't do the control point, these will keep respawning. So you basically just do laps around the Washington Monument. That's what I do. And it's just do one, and you want to do it as efficiently and quickly as you possibly can. So you need a good build that gives you good survivability, because if you've got a max DPS build but you're dying and having to respawn, it's less efficient than if you have a build with more armor or armor regen and you're not respawning but you're killing a little less quickly. And then it's as many directives as you can manage comfortably where you're not getting your butt handed to you. And for me, it's Memento is best in slot for all of these things because of the armor regen. So that's a given. I really like strikers, so I would probably run Memento, 4 pieces of strikers with a couple of them rolled to armor cores, and then it really comes down to a choice. Do you want damage to targets out of cover, or do you want additional weapon damage with one of those armor cores? So what I'm talking about is Fox's Prayers or the Bacaro's Holster. It can be argued that you're giving up a tremendous amount of the benefit of the striker's gear set by not using the striker's backpack. You're losing the ability to get from 50 to 100 stacks, which is basically, from 0.65% with your 100 stacks, so 65% additional weapon damage, up to 0.1, which is 100%. So you're losing out on 35%. But remember, with Memento, once you're fully stacked, it gives you 30% weapon damage. So in truth, you've only lost 5%. It is a slight down, but there's more benefit to running, in my opinion, more benefit to running the Memento because of the 3% armor regen and also the skill efficiency. So if you're running a shield, it has more health and it comes back quicker. I agree, Garrick. It is in a good spot. It's not what people thought. It certain things got rolled back, but if you look at the overall, the XP gain is actually up slightly. Basically, this is an I think. In my opinion, they're trying to take or provide a viable option so that you don't have to glitch the game to gain XP. Absolutely. It's all about uptime. It is all about uptime. So getting back to what we were doing, because, I saw a squirrel and now I can't remember what I was working on. We now need more weave. We're good, I think, for True Sons. We're good for everything else. So now it's just about backpack weave. And we're going to need, that is 3 cycles. So 65 plus 70 plus 75. So that is 70 and 70 and 70. So I need 210, if my math is right. Backpack. It's just a slightly different way of approaching it, but it's always been a case of I do something until it starts to grow tiresome, i.e. I'm getting bored by it, and then I go do something else. The big thing is, if you want a specific area's open world activities to stay active, don't do the control points. But then at the same token, you do need to do the control points because you're going to need to work also while you're getting XP and working your way into the game. You also need to be getting all of those crafting blueprints that I have. I spent a long time before my last break doing exactly that, just challenging control point after challenging control point, because it's quicker to do it that way and you still get a blueprint than to do it at Heroic, because Heroic was taking longer and it was mostly about getting efficiency, getting done what I needed to do. Absolutely, Garrick. Yeah, all I did was, it was 5 on either side of 70, which is 3 7s is 21. That's basically what I just did in my head. And we're done. Okay, with no mods on any of these, we are now at, and it's not going to be stupendous, but we're at 40% exactly crit chance with 61% crit damage, but that's with a garbage rifle that doesn't have any mods on it. So we're going to do better than that. We've got at least 15% crit chance with, it's actually more than that. I think we got 20% crit chance with the capacitor, I think, but or is it 10? I can't remember. So basically what I'm going to do now is re-equip my garbage, put all this in the stash, and run over to my my alternate. And I'm doing this on purpose with this character because ultimately I will be putting a video out on this. Tasco, one of the things that they did this year, like I missed season, gosh, I quit my big break came just before the expertise system got rolled out. So I took basically a year and a bit break from the time they rolled it out. So I think I missed seasons 7, 8, and 9, I think. Legacy, certainly the Legacy season caches, but this year, if you buy the season pass, you're getting a lot of those, which I'm not pushing anybody into buying it, but I looked at it and went, okay, I can get, as an example for me, it was Heartbreaker. I didn't have the crafting blueprints for the Heartbreaker set because that was a year 8 or 9 drop. I got them this season because I bought the season pass. So there is a blueprint for the AR. That one, I don't remember where I got it, but that one I got fairly early on because I've got the police M4. The rest of them, I don't know which one you would be missing. Again, some of these things I got so early, like really, truly, like my first stretch playing this game when it first launched, I didn't know that much about the game. I was just sort of blindly playing it. And I stopped playing just before Warlords came out. That was my, so I missed again from when Warlords dropped, and I was off for about a year. So I don't remember which seasons I missed in the interim. And then when I got back into it, it's like, okay, now I got to buy Warlords. And I went through that and started grinding through all of these things. So some of this, it's been that long that I honestly don't remember. But while this is, swapping characters, I think I dropped everything off. We're going to log out, and as soon as I hit the login, I got to pop a window open and turn the fan on, and I'll be right back. I'm not actually turning the camera off, so apologies if you're looking at my back. I'll be right back.
Siri entered.
The TKB that's in there, I don't think it has perfect flatline. That's the base gun that they built the Kingbreaker around. So it's just the Kingbreaker you can't craft. You can craft the base gun, but I'll be honest, the only reason I don't ever use the TKB, I don't think I'd go so far as to call it a trash weapon, but I don't like its handling characteristics, and I actually don't have that one. That was a Season 8 reward, and that's one of the seasons that I missed. But the Kingbreaker itself, because of its talent, I'll use it, but I'm not a huge fan of its handling characteristics. I love ARs. They're my favorite weapon in the game. But I prefer the police M4s, the carbine 7s. Even the FAMAS I don't like that much. I understand its utility and I will use it, but it's not one of my favorites because of its handling characteristics. I like guns that you put on target and it's minimal mouse, or if you're using a controller, minimal joystick action to keep it lined up. Like the FAMAS is brutal for console players. But yeah, the TKB 408 is locked for me as well because it was a Season 8 reward and I missed it. But like I said, I did manage to get the like the Heartbreaker stuff unlocked finally through the season. So that was a big one because that was also a Season 8 reward, but it was part of the Season Pass track this year. So back to this character. So we are going to run these pieces that we just put together. So it is a Striker's Battle Gear mask rolled to a skill tier. It is a Cheska backpack rolled to a skill tier. No, not rolled to a skill tier. My bad. Crit chance and crit damage. But it has companion. Because this is I live in Canada and I do know the French language. It's the gear set is Levois or Electrique, and this in French would be Henri, which is Henry. But again, if this is pronounced in French like I believe it's supposed to be, that would be the Henri. We've got a Striker's Battle Gear rolled to skill tier. We've got a holster Striker's Battle Gear rolled to a skill tier. And we've got the knee pads Striker's Battle Gear rolled to a skill tier. Because we've got one weapon damage core, we must run the technician specialization to get it to 6 skill tiers. And I don't know if you caught the way that I did that. So when you open the menu, in order to enable a skill, normally you press F and let go, and then you have to watch this screen. But you'll notice that you have the option to press F to hold and skip. So what I'm actually doing here is selecting technician and just holding the F key down until it comes back to this screen and it bypasses that whole animation. Now what I'm going to do, I think I did this before, but I just want to make sure that the weapons that I'm using, I've got the linked laser pointer, which is the rifle, if I need it. I am going to be running an assault rifle, and I also went into shotguns, and I'm pretty sure that I am going to run a shotgun as my backup on this, or I don't know yet. The advantage of running an ACS 12 of some description is strikers, so you get those stacks up quickly. So I'm probably going to run a rock and roll or at least an ACS 12. And I wanted to make sure that that's maxed. And you'll notice the technician on this character is not yet maxed, but the important parts are basically all I have left to do is the signature weapon stuff. No. In this particular case, we're going to run the capacitor, and this one does not yet have any expertise applied to it, so we're going to do that real quick. I think I've got enough materials left to do that. We are going to run Mechanical Animal is also a good choice because it does have future perfection, so there's another skill tier if you need it. The problem is it's an assault rifle, and assault rifles draw from the same ammo pool, so I'm depleting my assault rifle ammo with the capacitor. And if I need a backup, I won't have any ammunition. So I have 2 ACS 12s to choose from. This one has Optimist and this one has Flatline. So I can run the linked laser pointer and run Flatline. I can also run Optimist. I think the Flatline, they're basically identical. There's slightly more damage on this one. It's not maxed out. That one has crit chance. That one has stability. So I'm actually going to run the one with stability just because the ACS 12 tends to buck around a little bit. So, and then for a pistol, I have a card 45 with Finisher. But if I'm going to run something with Finisher, I'm going to run the Orbit, and because it's got perfect Finisher. This one I pulled, all of the Orbit pistols that I have were not acquired in the Dark Zone. They were acquired through doing season stuff and pulling them out of named item caches. All right, so that's that. We are going to run the Fixer Drone for 2 reasons. One is because we're using Technician, we don't have any armor regen, so that's going to help with armor. And it also sticks beside me, so it's going to proc the double companion that we're going to end up going. And then for the other one, I'm going to run the assault turret because it has the most health and does really good damage. I don't have the TDI card custom. I did, and you know when I preface a lot of things by saying if you want to keep something, mark it as a favorite? That's one of them. I deleted my card custom. I've only had one. I got it as part of the season that it was offered, and I haven't gotten one since. And I inadvertently deleted it after I'd been running with it for a while. I inadvertently unchecked the favorite, and then quickly going through my inventory like you see me doing on these videos, friggin' deleted it. So my bad, but try and learn from the mistakes of others, because you're not going to live long enough to make them all yourself. And then for the fixer drone, we have to make sure that that is on. Oh, and I don't have, I've only got damage stuff. So we got health, duration, and deflect duration, but we don't have heals. So I am going to dip over to my main before we go out and play, to set this up. Now, as far as the pieces themselves, so one piece of strikers, one piece of Cheska, the Henri, and the other pieces of strikers. So the way we've got this build set up, and there's no mods on this yet, but on this character, we are sat at 50% chance and 91% damage, which there's no watch levels applied to this character. So if I cannot fumble around here, this is the character that I use for making videos. So on purpose, I have not spec'd the available points into the watch. For me, especially early on in my progression through the game, you know, I'd watch some of the bigger YouTubers, some that I still follow, and I try and put a build together, and I can't max out the crit chance or damage, or I can't max out the skill damage, or I can't max out the, you know, whatever it happened to be. And they've got a really good build, and I've got a mediocre build because I don't have the watch level maxed out at that point. And I'll be honest, it used to piss me off that I couldn't get what they were trying to put together. So what I try and do when I put out regular YouTube videos is use this character with no watch levels applied, so that if you put this build together, basically copy and paste it, you're going to outperform what I've managed to do here. Now, I will be very clear with where the compromises are, because as an example with this build, we're actually leaning pretty heavily into the weapon side of the hybrid. I'm missing 10% crit chance. I'm missing 10% crit damage. I'm missing reload speed. Or is it reload speed or is it accuracy? It is on the offensive tab. We got weapon damage. So I'm missing 10% weapon damage. I'm missing headshot damage. I'm missing crit chance and crit damage. And then in the utility is all the skill stuff. So it's skill damage, skill repair, skill duration, skill haste, and then the handling stuff. I'm missing out on accuracy, stability, reload speed, and ammo capacity. That's why I'm really careful with these builds not to put the same weapon in twice, because I'm missing 10% ammo capacity. So, but like I said, we'll discuss any compromises that you have to make when your watch isn't maxed out, so you know that you won't have to make when your watch is maxed out. So we're gonna toss that into electronics. So here we go. The nice thing about the capacitor is it scales off of skill tiers. So for each skill tier, you get 7.5% weapon damage. This is a 6 skill tier build. 5 plus the technician class, which is 6. So 6 by 7.5 is, so that would be what, 50? I actually need a calculator. I'm blanking on that, but it's decent weapon. I think it's 45% weapon damage. I think. I'm not positive. It might be 42.5, but that's thumbnail math. Absolutely, Garrick. So it's encouraging that you put the build together and you can do better than what you see here. And I usually survive heroic missions with most of the stuff that I use here. When you're playing this game, understand that the build is important, but playing the build is more important. So understanding where its strengths and limitations are and playing to your build, not just playing. Yeah, I think it's 42.5, I think. Anyway, so that's where your scaling comes from, is from your skill tiers, which is why I rolled all the strikers pieces to skill tiers, because this also buffs my skills. In this case, I'm only using one additional shooting platform, which is the drone. If I was going to run this in higher level difficulty where I needed more DPS, I would switch to the striker drone and park myself beside the turret to proc companion. The advantage of running it this way is I can move around. The fixed piece, if you will, is the turret, but it draws aggro and it's got a lot of health. So you've probably seen instances where you've got a heavy or a chunga or something like that on top of a turret hammering on it, and you're running around it and it's ignoring you. So that's one of the beauties of running a skill like that. So it's going to take some of the heat off me. And then because I'm going to run the fixer drone, I've got two ways to proc companion, and in this case it's double companion. Running the ACS 12, and this is a choice, you can run, I want the ability to load up my striker stacks quickly at the start of an engagement. So there's no better way to do it than an ACS 12. It's got a really good fire rate for a shotgun, and each round that you fire has 8 pellets. So each of those, if they all hit, count toward the striker stacks. So you can very quickly build your stacks. All right, Tasco. At some point I got to get on a little earlier for my mates in England, because it's a little you're going to miss out on now on all the gameplay. At least you've seen the build put together. The only thing I have to do from here is put on crit damage mods, basically. We're sat at 50% crit chance, which is a good number. I'm going to leave it there. I'm happy with 50%, and I'm just going to boost the rest of the way up with crit damage. If you mirror this and you've got watch levels applied, you'll be at 60% chance and 101 crit damage before you put mods in it. So bear that in mind. The big crit damage number actually comes from the capacitor itself. So Tasco, if you're out, have a great night, mate, and we'll see you on the next one. I'll be back on Thursday night. I won't be on now. There's going to be a bit of a gap here for 2 reasons. We're going back to our other property in Halifax for the weekend, and we're staying over because I have to commute to Toronto for work next week. I'm basically going to be in Toronto all next week. So I'm going to get home on Thursday. So the unfortunate part with this is I don't think I'm going to have the opportunity to do any streaming until not this Sunday coming, but the Sunday after that. So it's going to be a little bit of a hiatus. But life and work, basically. I am going to try and get something recorded tomorrow with this build, with this character. And I'm going to, on purpose, stagger the release so that it comes out mid next week, so that at least there's some continuity and content, if you will. But I will be on Thursday night. So, mods. I think that's where we were at. And then I'll go over all of the pieces in detail, and then we're going to go out and hit some stuffs. All right, so we've got a 10.8. And again, with mods, you do have some options with how you want to bend this. I'm leaning into the weapon damage because I've got the fixer drone. I could go protection from elites, depending on where I am. You can go armor on kill. You can go into skill haste. There's so many different ways you can bend that. So we've used one of the 0.8s. So those are the best that I have with this character. So from stats, for the weapon itself, this is the capacitor. We're at 50% crit chance. We're at 123.5 crit damage, which those are fairly respectable numbers, especially considering we're using strikers. We're giving up some weapon damage. And again, I'm going to go see if we can expertise, how far up we can get the expertise on this before we go and start running around. Just to increase the total weapon damage itself, because we're giving the weapon damage red cores up, but we're getting it back because of skill tiers. So that's the advantage of running capacitor, is you're not truly giving up weapon damage. It's just coming from a different place. It's not coming from red cores. It's coming from skill tiers. So bear that in mind, that if it's 42.5, you can quickly do the math on how many additional red cores I would need to match that. If each one's 15, 2 would be 30, 3 would be 45. So I'd need 3 red cores to match what the capacitor gives me with 6. So Yes, I'm probably giving up some weapon damage, but the other beauty of the capacitor, and this is where I was going to go with this, are its mods. You get 10% chance, plus 11 rounds, which is not spectacular, but plus, I went past it, plus 30% damage. So in most builds, you're set somewhere around 75% crit damage by default. And then the last one, obviously, is the capacitance. The dielectric safety grip, which is 10% weapon handling. So we do get some additional weapon handling, would be accuracy, stability, reload speed, etc. So it's not bad. Plus, shooting an enemy builds a stack to cap of 40. Each stack grants 15% skill damage. After 5 seconds, stacks decay at 1 per second. So if I'm running around shooting, I've just boosted my skill damage by a lot. Like it's a lot. So that's the advantage of running this. I've now got shooting platforms that are getting buffed constantly. So the way the build is put together is everything except for the Cheska, and the Cheska is chosen on purpose to get the crit chance up because its one piece bonus is 10% crit chance. So without the Cheska piece, I would be sat at 40%. And again, this is where not having the watch level, if I wanted to come back to 50% with a watch, I'd go to Grupo because I'd still end up at 50%, but I'd have much more crit damage. So those are some of the trade-offs that you can make. Now, you could also run Memento in this slot. You're going to give up crit chance and crit damage, but again, you get the benefits and the bonuses of Memento. So that would be another way to run this. You're going to need to make up your crit chance with mods. You're going to lose out on total crit damage, basically. Because you have to swap out the mods to gain back what we've lost here, which is 16% crit chance. So bear that in mind. You get in the case of trying to hit 50%, you've got to make up 16% crit chance elsewhere. So that's another thing to consider. I could definitely run the Memento. I love the new model for it. It's awesome. So what I did is I think all of these were crafted. They were all crafted. Basically what I did is I kept crafting until I hit a crit chance or a crit damage. And I knew I was going to need 3 to drop with crit chance to get to where I wanted to go. This one rolled with crit damage. We'd optimized it, and then I converted the weapon damage core over to a skill tier. And it was the same thing with these. They're crafted. I got crit chance to roll or to drop, optimized it. This one we got crit chance to drop, optimized it, and all of these are rolled to a skill tier. And again, crit chance. The Henri I got through, I think it was a single run of Countdown on challenging. I've had really good luck on challenging lately with getting the pieces that I need. I selected Electrique as my for what I wanted to farm. I got 3 or 4 Electrique chest pieces. Only one dropped with crit. I was looking for crit chance or crit damage, one or the other, and this was the one that was keepable. All the other ones had skill-based things. So it rolled with crit chance, which we've optimized, and then I recalibrated this one to crit damage. It's got a skill tier, but it's got perfect companion, and you've probably heard a number of content creators talking about, I don't know if this is broken or intentional. I don't know if this is going to stick around. So for future people watching this video, when this was recorded in early July, the two perfect perfect companion and regular companion on my backpack interact with each other mathematically, and they're both multiplicative. So you get a really good amount of damage bonus out of this just by being near a skill or an ally. So this was, again, chosen pretty carefully on purpose. The Cheska piece, again, you have additional options. This one, I crafted this one as well. So there was a lot of crafting that's been happening over the last number of days trying to get these pieces. I needed something with, you've effectively got 3 attributes that you're looking for: crit chance, crit damage, and companion. And I needed 2 of them. So this one actually dropped with chance and damage and rolled on the companion. And for those of you that have been on the stream since I started doing this, you saw how much materials I went through to get this. The character that I had started with I think it was 2761 watch levels, and it's currently at 1,000. So I used up 1,610 watch levels to optimize all the gear. So optimization is expensive. I've figured out a few tips and tricks, if you will, for maximizing my efficiency, but at the end of the day, it's expensive. Garrick, for the countdown that you and I did, that piece is on my main. That one was one that I needed to have drop with crit chance and crit damage so that I could roll it to a weapon damage core. So slightly different iteration of the same piece for a slightly different purpose. But yeah, both of them crit chance and crit damage. This one with a skill tier, the other one with weapon damage. Again, that one is intended to end up in the Dark Zone. Ultimately, that's where that build is designed to shine. So we're running the Fixer Drone, we're running the Assault Turret, Capacitor, ACS-12, and the Orbit with Perfect Finisher. And I have no idea how this is going to play. You can see from the armor, it's minimal. Pretty much. My watch level, you can see it's 4573. So subtract 800 from that for the periphery, because it always drops 200 points into your 4 quadrants. So of the 4573, subtract 800, which would be 3873. So that's what I started with. And we used up a bunch of it Sunday night doing a bunch of other things, mostly topping off what I already had spent on doing stuff, and then used up another 1600-ish. But yeah, you can count on if you've got somewhere around 16, so 16 plus 8, which is what, 2200-ish, 2400 watch levels rather. So somewhere around 2500 watch levels, you're going to go through that entire character optimizing a build just for the gear. And that excludes what you need for the weapons. So, Capacitor, we're going to see if we can apply any expertise to it just before we go. It's an assault rifle that starts with the letter C, so it should be near the top. And we can do 1 because we're missing receiver components. So as we play tonight, we're going to be looking for weapon drops. So I'm going to be doing some open world farming. I'm going to do some missions. I have no idea if anyone's on Discord. I completely forgot to launch it. And I've not making excuses. I got very little sleep last night. I'm heavily caffeinated. So I'm a lot scatterbrained tonight. So bear that in mind as well. Just before we go, oh, Exotic Ash, hello. I forgot all about that. That's awesome. That's likely a keeper. Because I think now all my characters have the St. Elmo's engine. Yes. And this one has crit chance, which is not horrible. It's just not perfect. So this one, it's going to, oh, and it's max assault rifle damage. I know, Garrick, it's, you know, the whole time zone magic. So yeah, anyway, the long and short of it is long day, short night. So somewhat scatterbrained. Normal day. Yeah, pretty much. All right, so basically the way you want to play this build is it's an out of cover. Hang on, that's no. Shit, I didn't save the build. F and F. Let's try that again. Those should all still have their mods in them. I've put together another hybrid build, only one other one. And it was actually based around the Umbra set, which that was actually a very cool build to run. It was, played like a typical Umbra, in cover, out of cover, in cover, out of cover. If you go back and watch that video, I think it's titled, "Is this the best hybrid skill build ever?" or something clickbaity like that. But I wasn't playing it aggressively. I was playing it recklessly, and I didn't go down on heroic. It was a pretty cool build. So again, we're missing the extra healing from a mod for this, so bear that in mind. I might see if we've got enough materials to see if we can craft something for it real quick. Yeah, let's do that real quick. So it's a random crapshoot. I've still got plenty of cash on this character. I don't have a lot to play with because we're almost out of all our materials. So I'm basically I'm gonna play this until protective fabric is likely to run out first. And we need heals. And there it is. And that's actually a pretty decently rolled one. It's about 75%. Mark that as a favorite before I forget. All right, so before we go any further, I'm going to save this and rename it. So that we don't have to go through that again. The other thing I need to do at some point is up the expertise of this drone. And again, I don't think I've got the componentry to do that either. That's done in the same way, but it's through, you can update your specialization weapons as well. But the skills are all right here. The drone is the fixer. And yeah, we can bring it up a little bit. And you can see, then it's just hold down spacebar just like it is for everything else. The cool thing about this particular part is with your skills, this is basically account wide. So even if you roll a new character, it gets to take advantage of the levels that you've applied to this. And I think that's, whoops. I think that's going to be it. It is, but we got it up to 7, so we got 4 levels out of it. So each one of these, and they all do, with skills, they all do something different. In this case, it's duration. So my fixer drone will last longer, which is a good thing. Which is why I wanted to do this. With my turret, it's damage. So it's doing 10% additional damage. The ones I use on a regular basis, I brought up to a 10. So the turret, the striker drone, my shields, those all got up to 10 because I use them a lot. Fixer drone I've used less, but it's starting to become more prevalent in my builds, so we're bringing it up. No, watch levels help, but they're not everything. The big thing about watch levels after a certain point is once you've hit 1,000, you don't get any more benefit from it other than your health. So, and where's the easiest way to see it? Is it here? Where the frig is it? You can see the health bonus. I don't remember where it is. Drawing a complete blank. I thought it was here. But oh, I know where it is. Hang on. It's in here. I've got plus 40,000 health from the watch levels. So that's truly the benefit of massive numbers of watch levels, which is also why the developers have been coming down hard on the people that are, racking up 100,000 plus watch levels through the exploits that have been going on, because if I was watching someone vent about it, and it's somebody that I follow, watching someone vent about, why this is important that the developers do what they've done, because he was watching a video where someone with this is in the Dark Zone, this player had, I don't remember the number that was quoted, but it was over 100,000 watch levels. They were running an all red build with perfect vigilance and perfect glass cannon. And I'm not shitting you with this. It took 8 players to get them down and killed. That's the disparity that's been created by some of these exploits. So, and it's all health. It was just they couldn't take his health down because he had so much of it. He would have had hundreds of thousands of bonus health that you can't compete with that, So anyway, I don't mean to be on a soapbox about that. I try not to delve down or go down that road because it can be contentious. So, oh yeah, perfectly rolled mods are rare. I have very few of them. I think I have 1 perfectly rolled crit chance. I've got 2 or perhaps 3. I think it's only 2 perfectly rolled crit damage mods. I've got 3 perfectly rolled headshot damage mods. Basically, like, I'm still looking for that unicorn 13% protection from elites mod. I've never gotten one to drop. Countdown is the most efficient way to do it, but it's still everything about looking for specific pieces, especially maxed rolled pieces, it's a grind. And my caution to anybody, because I've taken 2 long breaks from this game because I ground myself to the point where it was like, it's no fun anymore, is enjoy the game. Don't treat it like it's a grind. Do stuff that you enjoy. And if it's starting to feel like a grind, go do something different. So we've saved it. We've done all of those things. My world, I think, is on challenging, which is not a bad starting place. I am not running directives, but I think I probably should. So we'll run Ragers and Fog of War Revisited to start. I might switch on Fragile Armor, but we'll start with these. I'm hesitant to switch on Cool Skills because I need both. The only other one I might consider is Ammo Hoarders, but again, where this is a weapon damage based build, not a good idea. So the only other option would be Fragile Armor. Running open world, it's actually not that big a deal because all you got to do is teleport back to a safe house or to the White House. So to reset, you may have to pop a health pack, but you can always fast travel to resupply them. Now, the other thing with these characters, today being Tuesday, I've got all of the invaded missions that I can do as well. I will probably save those for Thursday night and do them with the gang. This one was more about seeing how viable this is. Currently, again, challenging two directives. We'll do some open world stuff. We'll do some control points. We're just basically going to do a mix of stuff as if we were just out having fun farming. This should be a decent build. Should be. Don't know for certain. But we're going to start down in this area. Probably start here. This area of the map, I know it quite well because one of my resource runs that I used to do daily is down here. And I love coming down to DZ South main entrance because you spawn in facing the DZ. If you turn left and head over to the parking lot that's over here, it's one of the areas the loot goblin can spawn from. And he has just spawned. So that was pretty quick. So the loot or the resource run I do always starts over here and then carries on through into the underground. And again, not to push you in the direction of my videos, but I've got a video on it if you wish to see the resource run. It's well balanced. I have found a better one for a lot of resources that you would normally get. And if there's interest in it, I'll run through that as part of this. All right, Jeff.
Civilians in distress.
So we've got our fixer drone up. So Perfect Companion is procced. There it is. And again, being out of cover with this is not good at the minute. But it is tearing through the red bars. They were tearing through me, but that was mostly playing in a poor position. I'm going to go up because they're going to spawn in over closer to the Washington Monument. I'm running my mouse into the side of the keyboard. That's the reason I'm not tracking that guy.
Incoming hostiles detected.
So it's slapping pretty hard, to be honest. That was relatively drama-free. Relatively. Now, I always pick these up, and I always cancel them so that I've got them in my inventory for when you need these. So bring up your map, hover over the bounty, and then you press, in my case, G, which is go to details, and then abort bounty, which is F. And it's saved. I've got that one. I can come back and do it at any point. And again, some of the weekly activities during a season require that you do bounties. So I will have them saved up. I don't think I saw any other loots around other than what's here. There's water. There's, I think that was electrical, or I don't remember what that was. But there's also stuff up here, including ammunition. And I'm going to break this down for the next, because I wanted to see, okay, so it's about a 25-second reset. Not horrible. Again, this isn't a build where we've leaned into skill haste at all. It's mostly about doing weapon damage and having skills at the same time. Decent damage skills. So the next closest one is over here. So we're going to go do that one and then hit the other one right beside it. Now, I wasn't really paying attention, but I don't think I got close to max striker stacks at any point during that. So I'm actually going to switch to the ACS-12 so that the next engagement we enter, we can build them up much more quickly. And I'd forgotten, it's interesting. Whenever I play with Fog of War, I always, I constantly look at my mini map, and it's always uncomfortable initially, not knowing where they're coming from, having to rely on spotting them rather than simply looking at the mini map to see where they are. Now, one advantage of the skills is you can see where they are by looking for the Q symbol.
Hostile control point detected.
Now, with that one, I chose to just pop out the turret and stick beside it to proc companion. But again, it's knowing where your damage is coming from. I always got to, I must be near something to proc companion. So in this case, I'm going to play it a little bit more carefully. He says as he's running around in front of them all. Now, there's one of two places they spawn at this point because I've played it a lot. One is back over here somewhere, and the other is over here. And it's over there, based on audio cues.
Access key detected. Progress halted. Manual override required. Progress resumed. Manual override required.
You know, it's an I think. I think there's ammunition around here somewhere, but I can't honestly remember. And it won't show up on the mini-map. So we've got 518 plus 42, so we'll do one more and then we'll go elsewhere. So there is a hostage rescue right beside us. Reds are freaking getting deleted with this build. With the weapon.
Detecting additional hostile contacts.
And that was without companion. So it's still smacking pretty hard even without companion. I did not notice that my my drone had gone down and I was well away from the turret. All right, Garrick.
You saved me. I can never thank you enough.
All right, so let's see if we can intercept that before we go. It's not that I'm greedy.
Incoming hostiles detected. Detecting additional hostile contacts.
Of course, now we're aggroing the control point. But I'm just going to leave the turret out to draw the aggro. Anyway, I don't wish to actually engage this at this point, so I'm just going to go pull into cover, break down my turret. And then I probably can't fast travel because I'm in combat, so to speak. But we will see. I'm going to run back to the White House for a second. I need to top off my water and take a very quick bio break. But I am liking how this is playing so far. It's not a face tank build in any stretch. Like I said, you're at minimal armor. In my case, I'm at 660 because I don't have any bonuses from the watch. You do have to be cautious, but it does really good damage. Like way better than I thought it would. So I think it's time to try a heroic level control point. See how that works out. And then I'm also going to probably run a heroic mission or two. See how that works out. And then see if anybody's around to run it in a group. The advantage of running it the way we've got this set up is with... I don't have what I refer to as situational buffs that I need to make the build active other than my own skills or my group members. If I wasn't using a Cheska backpack and was running Memento as an example, that's awesome solo. As soon as you get into a group, you're not competing with your teammates, but you are in competition for those kills. And if you don't kill them first, you don't get the trophy drop. So it's really hard sometimes to first build up your memento stacks. And depending on the nature of the room, if you have to play from the back of the room in cover, it's really difficult to keep your memento stacks. So memento is not my first choice for group play. It's best in slot, really, at the end of the day for solo play. It brings so many things to the table. And like I said, even with strikers, you're only losing 5% of its potential by swapping out the backpack for a memento. So 5% damage loss versus the gain of 3% armor regen as an example. So that is actually something we might look at with this build because it doesn't take away the skill. It actually adds a skill tier. So we can look at swapping, I would need another piece of... No, I wouldn't need another piece. That would be interesting because then I could actually run Gunner with that. So that opens up some really interesting possibilities. So we're going to try that a little later as well. I mean, this is sort of the template that I saw and that's the intention behind this is we're going to explore some of the options that are out there. I am going to lose 16% crit chance, so I'm going to have to put crit chance mods on to get it back to 50%, or just accept the fact that I'm nowhere near near 50%, which means that my crit damage is going to come down. So that's the trade-off. But there are a lot of benefits to the memento, and we're just going to see how it plays. It may feel better, which ultimately, if it feels better, and therefore you're able to take on more challenging content, it's a better build. Numbers aren't everything when it comes to build construction. And I think we went up 2 levels with that, so we will put those into what we're most desperately needing. And like I said, I am going to take a very, very quick break. Just basically top up my water bottle, run to the washroom, and then we'll be back at this. I'm going to take on a control point. Probably the area we were just in, and then we can reset. That's not my favorite control point to do, but it is one of my favorites to do because it's well situated for skill builds. Because there's lots of places to play from cover where you don't have to worry too much about being flanked. There's other ones that are just terrible for skill builds. But yeah, we will be right back. And we're back. So, does anybody have a preference of what mission I run after we do the control point? If you do, just pop it into the comments and let me know what you're thinking you'd like to see this run on. In order to get the loot goblin to respawn, I would actually have to log out and log back in, and it would probably respawn. Where I farm the loot goblin is in the Christmas holiday event. Because it drops unique drops every time. So that's how I've gotten a lot of my chill out masks. Well, it's how I've gotten all my chill out masks: the Slayer, the O'Carroll, etc.
Hostiles guarding location nearby.
One bullet. If you're new to the channel, new to my streams, there have been people that have suggested that you play the Agent Meat drinking game. That every time you see me running with one bullet in the, oh, and we didn't get ammo. All right, I know where some is. I think it's right there. I think. Now, is there some on the roof here? If there is, we won't do the... No. Not good for the hostages' lives that I triggered this far out.
Every last concern.
Hostile control point nearby.
Missed that completely.
Incoming hostiles detected.
Now, that's a poor place for the turret, but I don't want to spend the time to reset it. So again, grab the bounty, go to map, find it, G, and F. And that's 2 more bounties that we have for next time. But most importantly, there's ammunition here. And I am going to let my skills reset. So this should be a tier 4. It is, because we stirred it up. for those of you that weren't in on when we did all the settings for this, the world is set to challenging with 2 directives on. We've got Ragers and Fog of War Revisited. And we've done a couple of things in this area. I'll go over the build after this is over. Crap. The nice thing about having a turret out is it will draw the aggro while you displace and move. So we're going to lose the turret here in about 15-20 seconds. And there it goes. Now, this isn't my favorite place to be in cover because you are quite exposed on that flank. So I'm going to move back here somewhere while we're waiting for the turret to come back. Definitely need ammo. We can't let him get anybody up.
Serious trauma detected.
Oh, damn it.
Agent deceased.
So close. And I didn't call in. Oh, we gotta clear it again. Oh. So I've sort of got a rule of thumb. If I'm playing solo, I typically call for... that's not where I wanted to be. I want to be over here. So we'll call to here and run it the rest of the way in. If I'm solo, I typically call for reinforcements. That way, if I go down and get myself killed because I'm stupid, they will remain. I can fast travel back on them, basically. That was kind of a painful way to get my ammo back. And in hindsight, I should have healed.
System malfunctioning.
Should have healed before I pushed.
back online.
Yeah, I got myself killed. I had one person left on this control zone, and I pushed when I shouldn't have, and got myself killed. Brilliant.
Reinforcements incoming.
Oh my god, my accuracy is terrible. And mostly I'm bitching about my accuracy because I don't have the ammo capacity to waste.
Heavily armored hostile detected.
So this is where I got in trouble the last time. Alright, because I've called for backup, they're inbound almost, well, instantaneously. So, quick ammo. Get back up and see where they're coming from. Nope. Now, the downside of capacitor is always its ammo capacity. Or in terms of its magazine size, not its ammo capacity.
Heavily armored hostile detected.
Okay, so that went a little more smoothly.
Supply room access unlocked.
And one thing I did forget to check the last time we were back to the White House is where my technician class is, because it is not yet maxed out on this character. So I think we picked up 5 for doing the control point, and we just got 3 for these, excuse me, this watch level, and we went up 2 watch levels before that, so we should have a few watch, or so before we were rudely interrupted. Victory. Yeah. So I did get killed once. I got greedy. Pushed too hard with too little. Basically, the fixer drone doesn't give you what, say, Memento does. It doesn't give you that level of recuperation of your armor. Apparently, I've never been down here before with this character. All right, I'm going to run back to the White House and to remedy that situation with the technician points. Yeah, you know what though? I'm just reading back through your comments, Garrick. It is tricky, but it's not a bad one to do with a skill build, because there's lots of elevated positions to put the turret. Not gunner, we want technician, and we can put 1 more in there. So I need 9 more points, and that's effectively maxed out. And then 5 for here, and I typically don't put any points into the pistols. You'll typically see me running 155 out of 165 on most specializations. I say most. You can see that these, this one is completely maxed out. I've got nothing applied into sharpshooter. I've never played it with this character. I have used survivalist. Obviously, I've been using technician. I've used gunner a lot. Gunner is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, DPS builds. Back before back before Firewall Gunner and Technician came out, your max DPS was Sharpshooter. In most cases. Demolitionist does offer one interesting thing that not a lot of people recognize, is everybody gets 5% additional damage to targets out of cover. So if you've got a group together and you can afford to have somebody with a Demolitionist, it does help, and it helps a fair bit. So that's something to keep in mind. Oh yeah, I hate the inventory clutter, and not only that, if you look in here, I've parked a bunch of them, but this is basically full of, there's Maxim 9s, there's there happens to be a Prophet in here, but there's 2 sharpshooters, there's a fire starter. That one is one of my these 2 are level 30 pieces, but all that. I mean, I know they don't take up any inventory space because there's the specialization weapons, but I don't like the mess, the clutter, the noise. I think noise is probably the best way to word it. And similarly, in my own inventory, I do have the Diceros special in here, and I mean, I could dump it in there, but in fact, I think I can dump it in there. Yeah. So, where was we? And again, like I said earlier on, I am fatigued, and in this particular case, it's manifesting itself in I feel very scatterbrained. So if I keep coming back to things, it's not Alzheimer's, it's fatigue. Now, what I would recommend for people that are working on expertise is I've just marked everything that I know I'm not going to want to keep as junk. I would then come over here, check and see if you've got any little green blips, which indicate that there's an attribute you can improve in your inventory. Then flick over to expertise and donate all junk. And then either sell or deconstruct. That's sort of how I manage it. And do we have enough receiver components yet to do another level on the capacitor? I don't think we do. Oh, we do. Yay. So this we're going to make stronger as the evening goes on. So now we're going to need a fair bit more before we can optimize again. I mean, I do have 250K, so I could do this trick, and I'm going to do this really quick just to make the point. This is always, if you need receiver components, the easiest way to do it is come here and buy pistols, because pistols are the cheapest weapon that they have. And each one, I think, is 23. So that's approximately 100. That's approximately 200. It's approximately 300. So we'll do that 5 more, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll break those down and see where we're at.
Need help crafting something?
So you can see the percentage, especially on a build like this, that's quite good weapon damage. I'm going to run, so we've done a couple of open world missions. We've done a heroic control point with 1 fail. We're going to do a mission. And does anybody have a favorite mission? I don't want to do the Invadeds yet. My favorite is Lincoln Memorial, because I know it really, really, really well. Probably my least favorite would be Federal Emergency Bunker, but again, it's invaded, so I'm not going to do that one. Similarly with the Potomac Event Center. But, you know, I really like running Lincoln Memorial. Grand Washington Hotel is always fun. The ones around this area of the map, I'm meh on, but if someone has a favorite mission, I will run it. Definitely explosive build, but you can run that even like on my raid character. I run Demolitionist for the 5% damage to targets out of cover. Also, that explosive grenade launcher is a great way to open up the damage panels on if you're doing dark hours on the boss. Air and space. So I've got Jefferson and I've got Air and Space. So we need a second vote to break the tie. And you can see where I'm hovering. So if I don't get a second vote here, I'm going to head to Jefferson Trade Center. Going to Jefferson Trade Center. Jefferson Trade Center is also a place you can get the loot goblin to spawn. Now, again, because I've not reset this character by logging out, I'm not going to get him again, probably. But this is another place you can get the loot goblin. He spawns in one of 2 manhole covers, and I'll show you where they are before we run in and do the mission. So, turn and face this way. There's a cop car over there. If you head in that direction, he is either going to spawn or he's not. He comes out of a manhole cover somewhere around here-ish. If by the time you get to that cop car he hasn't spawned, you reverse direction and head straight down the street, and you're basically heading for that pickup truck. And if he doesn't spawn by the time you get to the pickup truck, he's not going to spawn at this site. Sorry, it's an SUV, not a pickup truck. And that's basically it. This is another place that I've had decent luck getting the loot goblin to spawn. My favorite, though, is DZ South. So, Heroic, we're running 2 directives still, and we'll see how we make out.
Last radio contact with Espinosa came from a parking garage close to the shade node. Isaac has the location.
Now, even though this is a hybrid build and you could run this run and gun, I don't believe the way we've got it set up there's enough survivability with it, so I'm primarily going to play it like I play any skill build, which is from cover. I would probably play it a little bit more aggressively with Memento, and that's, like I said, that's the next iteration of this build that we're going to try and see how that feels. This feels pretty decent. It's just you got to recognize the inherent squishiness of the way that this build is set up. We've got a little bit of... No, we don't have a little bit of time with this one. It's after this. We've got a little bit of time to allow the skills to cool down.
Hostile radio intercepted.
We're under attack! Intruders in the east entrance! Then kill them! What the fuck?
But yeah, the Air and Space Museum, I've been to DC. The initial training I did on an aircraft type was actually done in DC, and yeah, it's a very cool city. From a museum perspective.
Immediate medical assistance needed.
Wow.
Agent vital signs.
Should have healed. Like I said with this build, you're very squishy. It's been a really long time since I've been to DC, but I do appreciate the coolness of the things that you can do there. The one museum I was not prepared for was the Holocaust Museum. We had a day off, so it was me and one other guy, and we basically did the entire run of you know, Smithsonian, Air and Space, all of that sort of stuff. And the Holocaust Museum was just, it was sobering. It but the Smithsonian and Air and Space were really cool.
Hostile radio intercepted.
We're under attack! Intruders in the east entrance! Then kill them! What the fuck? It's a division! So?
Look for a way down to the garage and see if you can pick up
So
Espinosa's
I'm going to play this one a little bit more
It's gonna be a
cautiously.
mess.
So I'm not having much luck with this particular mission. Hopefully it resets me right back to the same place, but I don't think it's gonna because it's heroic.
Last radio contact with Espinosa came from a parking garage close to the shade node. Isaac has the location.
The downside to that particular turret position is I can't go pick it back up again. I have to deconstruct it.
Okay, so where do we stand?
Basically, everybody outside about a 50-mile radius of DC is completely cut off from the network. Completely.
What do we do about it?
First, we need to assess the full scope of the damage, which means going places that won't be easy to get to.
Because they're in hostile territory.
It's not just that. The flooding did a lot of damage, especially underground, which is where most of our...
You're near Espinosa's last known position. The shade node should be close.
And the garage is going to suck. Garrick, as far as, are they all about the same length? Are you talking about all the museums? Yeah, they're all 2.5 hours to run through, is my experience. If that was what the question was pertaining to.
Shade agent credentials authenticated.
There should be a terminal that'll let you reactivate the node.
Authorization granted. Please stand by. Intelligent system analytic computer reactivated. All Isaac subsystems operational.
That was the last step to getting Isaac fully restored locally. But we have a ways to go before we can celebrate. And a missing agent to locate. Continue your sweep of the complex.
Hostile radio intercepted.
Heroic missions. Okay. Yeah.
Hello? Is this the division? Looking for
Oh,
someone?
it was brutal. It was a long day.
Friend of yours gave me a real nice wristwatch.
As far as heroic missions, one of the reasons I like doing Lincoln Memorial so much is on heroic, you can clear it in 15 minutes-ish.
Back off. We'll deliver him unharmed. Mostly.
They'll keep him alive. Find that data and waste her.
Now, I think I've said this before with respect to legendary missions. It's important to go into cover on the side you intend to go into cover on. Yeah, it's gonna suck. What was I going to say? I completely lost my train of thought. It's important to understand trigger points for the next spawn events. With this room, just past the tail end of that white SUV is a spawn trigger point for the room that's right there. So I tend to try and keep the numbers manageable by not spawning a metric crap ton all at once. That's the guy we want to take out next, if possible. And like anything, you want to prioritize your important targets. There is a drone controller, so those cars, I want to take them out next, but to do that I'm going to have to reposition. See if we can fish them out of cover. Whoops, that's not going anywhere. Well, we'll spawn some more. Might be this far. Maybe not. I'm playing this a lot on the cautious side, simply because I don't want to get down again. Having been down once already in this mission, I really don't want to reset and start over, and then having the Delta in that one particular room. I mean, that wasn't that bad, but it could have been much more of a pain in the hiney. But in terms of the heroic missions that are the quickest, Lincoln Memorial is the quickest in my experience. So the next spawns happen at the next set of workstations over here. And I'm basically just keeping people at arm's length because I don't have the build where I can suck them in and deal with them as quickly as a lot of the other builds that I run on a regular basis. Gotta say though, this build's not bad. It's just, it's squishy. With Memento, I'm thinking we're probably going to be able to run 2 damage skills. I don't think we're going to need the healer drone. I tend to park beside the turret anyway. So it would just mean that I'm forced to do exactly that.
Agent vital signs 0.
He didn't have to die here.
Vital signs critical.
That bastard can't have gotten far yet. Go after her.
So there's a couple ways to manage Coyote when you come out, right or left, basically. Those are your 2 choices. It's kind of binary. I typically go right when I'm solo and left if I'm in a group. Because if you go left, there's 2 to intercept and you can actually take on, like basically if you've got a build where you can face tank, you can cut across this way and get into position where you can get shots on Coyote pretty quickly. That's the downside of going this way, is Coyote's a sniper. No sweat, Garrick.
Look, there was nothing you could have done for Espinosa. That fucking hyena was toying with us. I hope she suffered a bit before you finished her off. Anyway, thanks to you, we're an important step closer to getting the Shade Network back to full strength.
So was that, I think, two Picaros holsters we got in this run. So I think we took a fair bit of damage on this. Decent accuracy. 8.6 million damage taken versus 44. Well, that was skill damage. Sorry, 362 damage out. So not a bad trade-off. And decent real crit chance, crit damage numbers. Those are kind of the things that I look at. You know, obviously I look at accuracy. I look at the total death or kills, damage dealt. I'm always curious about how much damage I actually took and then where my damage came from. So you can see in this particular case, some of it was skill damage and the rest of it would be my damage basically. So this build basically focuses on the weapon damage. We're going to mix it up a little bit. So, and try it with Memento. There we go. So again, we're going to be bringing down our crit chance, crit damage. We're going to be increasing, we're going to be increasing our total weapon damage because the Memento buffs your weapon damage by 30% when it's fully stacked. So this Memento is maxed out. It's by switching that out, we've just lost 16% crit chance. So yes, we are at 34%. So we need to make that back up, which means that we're going to end up running crit chance mods instead of crit damage mods. And I really don't know what I've got on this character for crit chance. I don't even, there's one, and I've got one. So we're actually going to have to go looking for them. I think one of the vendors here has them for sale. I'm not going to go steal them from my other characters. And I think these ones were 5 point something, if I remember correctly. 4.8, which is not fantastic. But they're what we have available. So we're still going to be down. We're at 49.3. We were at exactly 50. But we were at, I'd have to go back and look at the footage, 120 something percent, I think, before we made these changes. So actually, I'm going to revert because it's fairly easy to do. If I go back to the loadout, I should have saved that first. We were at exactly 50%. We were at 123.5. So we're going to switch back to Memento and re-equip those two other crit chance mods. So 1.4.8, second 4.8. I'm going to save this as well. And I'm going to ditch the fixer drone in favor of a shooting drone. And we're going to have to resave this for two reasons. One is I didn't have that up, and two, that had armor repair, not damage. So we go back to loadouts, hybrid 2, overwrite. So again, 123.8 at 50% even. We are down to 49.3 and 79% crit damage. Roughly, it's within 0.7 of the same crit chance, but we've lost 29 and 23, so 52% crit damage, I think. No, 42%. It's 42%. 44%. Good Lord, my math isn't working tonight. So it's a fair chunk of crit damage that we've given up on, but we've picked up with the Memento backpack. Just for the long-term buffs, we get 1% per trophy. So when we're fully stacked, we get an additional 30% weapon damage. Not a straight trade-off, but we're also getting skill efficiency and armor regen. So we're going to get 3% armor regen out of this with 830 armor now because the Memento has 1 armor core. So we've just increased our armor from 660 to 830. Pretty decent pickup. And 3% of that. So that would be 83. So now let's see what it says. I don't think it says in here. No, it doesn't actually say. But we are at 6 skill tiers, which means we don't necessarily need technician class. We could go to gunner. So what are the advantages of going to gunner over technician? With technician, we've got additional damage to skills, robotics, and proxies. We do additional skill damage. So those are two benefits of this. So the trade-off is, which way do you want to lean? Do you want to weight it in favor now of the skills, or do you want to stay weighted in favor of the firearm? I want to try and weighted in favor of the firearm. So again, what we're giving up, and do we have, we've only got 4. Okay, so we're giving up an extra skill tier, which we don't need because we're already at 6. We're giving up 12% damage to drone skill proxies and robotics. So doggos, mini tanks, etc., etc. This does actually heal your skills, which is kind of cool. We're also giving up an additional 10% skill damage. So we are losing out on skill damage, a skill tier, and the damage to robotics, etc. What we pick up, and I just have to make sure that we've got the correct things applied. We do. Those are the 3 weapons we've actually got applied. The reason I had the rifles on the other one was to keep the linked laser pointer available if we needed it. What we pick up now is we get 10% armor on kill. Every third reload is 50% faster. We're going to regenerate ammo, and our rate of fire increases by 5% on kill for 5 seconds. Those are all very big damage helps. Plus, you've got the Banshee Pulse if you wish, yeah, for not so much for this build, we're not going to run it with this build, but if you're running a build where you're running and gunning and you need to stagger enemies, it's fantastic for that. I often use that in lieu of a shield. You know, when I would normally pop the shield because there's somebody directly in front of me, I've got the Banshee Pulse. So I don't do it as often. I don't do it very often, but that is definitely something I consider. So again, trade-offs, slightly different build. I'm going to resave this now that we've chosen the gunner class. And we're going to clean out the inventory, and I'm going to run through Lincoln Memorial on Heroic, and we'll do some other running around open world activities to see how it plays, probably in the area we started in. Ooh, that one's a good one. I'm going to roll off that, but that is a keeper. This one I'm going to deconstruct. Oh. That's supposed to be a keeper. That's supposed to be a keeper. These are all things I was messing with on another build that should have been marked as favorite. Okay, those rest are fine. And as far as the... And again, just to be consistent, run over here. Check your recalibration library, looking for green triangles. And in my case, they're few and far between. But you can see I'm still not completely maxed out. I'm missing on pistols one talent. It's the new one. It is, or is it determined? I don't know what it is. It's not, oh, there it is. It's Thunderstrike. So I am missing Thunderstrike on the pistols. I think I'm missing it elsewhere. No, I'm gradually getting a hold of it. But if I go in and look at these, some of my attributes are still not completely maxed. They're really close, but they're not completely maxed because at some point I stopped doing this on a regular basis. But come in, check your recalibration library, donate all junk, and then depending on what you need, like I've got 139,000 credits, so I'm okay for credits. So I'm going to deconstruct because I know I need receiver components. I know I need protective fabric because I used up a lot of it. And can we apply another level to the capacitor? I doubt it. Not yet. So, before we do Lincoln Memorial, the other place that I've been going for resources is this underground area that's associated with this resource node. It's very heavy in resources, but there's also, I can't remember if it's 7 or 8 keys. I think it's that many. It's a lot of keys. So you enter through the garage here. This safe house is actually quite close. So, and we'll hit that resource convoy on the way through. So we're still in challenging with 2 directives for the open world. And it's actually relatively comfortable
Civilians in danger.
running it that way. Or has been on the previous build. This, I think, is going to be a more comfortable build to run. It's not as min-maxed. They should be directly out front. I have 0 way to read gen any armor yet until I start picking up those stacks. I'm going to get a bunch of them here in a second, if I survive. Oh, no, I don't. I disregard that. I've got armor on kill on this because I went to gunner. But I'm not in a great position here because I'm kind of caught pinched between two. So I'm trying to get my flankers first, where possible. This is not good.
Serious trauma detected. Detected hostile supply convoy. Heavily armed.
Now, nice thing about skills at this point is any kill is armor on kill, and it doesn't matter if it comes from me with a weapon or from a skill. Brutal.
Immediate medical assistance needed. Civilians in distress.
Alright, we're going to hang here for a second and reset. Catch our breath. Yeah, we got another resource convoy coming in, so this is not ultimately going to be a great spot to hang in.
Civilians in danger.
There's not really any direct threat that I'm prioritizing over the other at this point. It's mostly targets of opportunity.
Heavily armored hostile detected.
Control point secured. Well done.
At this point, it's all about the memento stacks and then ultimately the ammunition before we reset and bring in the incoming. So I am at max stacks now. Not that that has set me on fire before, but yes, it has. And I am going to go over to that spot because I do need to be beside it for companion.
Incoming hostiles detected. Civilians in distress.
And I don't know if you picked up on the rate of fire increase I got on that one. That was obviously one of the rate of fire, you know, on kill. And I didn't even look to see what level this control point was at. Just that it was here and we'd aggroed it, so I came in to do it.
Supply room access unlocked.
So as I was saying before this all started, we actually came over here to show you that that resource area. And it's now a hostage rescue, so that's not terrible. So this particular run starts in through here.
Civilians in distress.
It is a resource node.
Access key detected.
Now, I'm missing out on companion based on where I am, but
Detected. Nearby location guarded by hostiles.
Yeah, wasn't for you. Thank you.
right. So G, F, and we're out. So back to this run. It's fairly high in receiver components. So that's 3 boxes thus far. Four, 5 boxes at 23-ish per. So that's what this room has. So not a bad start. So I'm actually going to count off the keys because I can't remember how many it is. And if anybody sees one that I missed, please scream at me in the comments. Here's 1. I don't have this run memorized like I do some of my other ones, so I am not automatically going to where the keys are. I know where they are-ish, but not definitively. And don't know how well this translates onto the screen, but from a feel perspective, this build feels better. There's 2. Now, in order to do it sort of linearly as you work your way through, there is a room with a lock on it just inside the big room on this side of the room, halfway down this wall. And there are 2 Outcast boxes in this run as well. That's the first of the 2 of them. So we are at, I've already lost count, 2 keys, I do believe.
Civilians in danger. Hostile control point nearby.
I think that's all that's in that area. I don't think there's anything over in that corner. Three? 4? 3? I don't remember. I said I was going to count, and I've already lost count. Call that one 4.
Civilians in distress.
You can see this build is high on on components itself, which was really useful this week playing level 30 characters, because that's what the level 30 characters were looking for. That one would be 5. I picked up a lot of exotic components this week just by running a new character as far as the White House, boosting them to level 30, doing the SHD requisition project, and then after I broke down the exotic, deleting them and doing it again. It sounds like that's time consuming. It is, but you're getting, call it 14 minutes. I think I was timing it out to 13.5 minutes from the time that I pressed the button to start character creation until I was deleting the character at the other end of it was about 13 minutes. So it was this run and one other one, and I had all of my receiver components and also a lot of keys, which, you know, you get that on the first one, and then after that, you've already cleared the boxes. But you can see that this is a fairly lucrative, relatively quick run, and I think that's the last one, and I can't remember if we're at 7 or 8. And this ends in the Ivy Tunnel, and the Ivy Tunnel is right down that way. If you want to do that control point as well as part of this, so that certainly is an option as well. But we're not going to do that one. We're going to do Lincoln Memorial on Heroic with 2 directives. As I was saying, this has a much better feel in terms of survivability. It is a higher survivability build. Now, with all that running around with no kills, we have to rebuild all our memento stacks. So I'm going to play this room conservatively.
They maintain this outpost. True Sons will be a direct threat to the campus.
So again, this build, we were getting our survivability from two places. One is armor on kill from Gunner, and the second is from memento stacks once we're buffed up. That is just pissing me off.
Got a visual on additional hostiles in the memorial compound. They're moving south. There's a gate between you. It looks closed from here.
So as I stack up, I start to push a little harder, or I generally push a little harder with any build. So memento stacks are the what looks like a curled bicep in white, and you can see we're just slightly below half. So 2 rooms in, we're fully stacked, and excuse me, I've got an eyelash sticking in my eye. It's itching like crazy, so that's why I keep going to that eye. This room is awkward to play with a skill build. I typically play it from up here. But I don't like being out in the open like this, because you often get people going up to that machine gun, like that guy's going for, and then the spawns at the back of the room will sneak up on you down that wall. You also have to be really careful for the RPG people when they come out, because if you're sat right beside your turret, they'll shoot at it, and that shot will kill you. Wait for that fire to go out. Now the cool part is once the skills start to fix on him, he will spam fire at the drone instead of focusing on me. With those ones that look like the Crown, that's the RPG. And keep an eye on their icon because you can actually see when they load up the rocket.
Maintain the perimeter.
And then you got to play it a little bit on the cautious side. I love this mission for a whole host of reasons. It's predictable. It's decent for any kind of build that you're going to want to run. It's good for a skill build. It's good for a high DPS build. You know, it lends itself to whichever way you want to play. But it's also got 2 caches that are easy to find. It's got multiple loot rooms and a lot of bosses. So it's got a little bit of everything. And the cool part is when you play it a few times, you understand where all the spawns are. They're really easy to predict. The next spawn is at the back of the room. Right there. When these get down to 1 player, I believe, they're going to start spawning out of the door that's just around the corner to my left. Now when we get down to the last guy killed, there will be 1 or sometimes 2 spawns in the last corridor. So completely predictable room.
An area beneath you with increased security. Isaac can't access data on this location. Stay alert. I don't know what you're walking into.
It's not something I talk a lot about in the stream or in videos, but it's understanding your map. It's not just understanding the map; it's understanding the spawn triggers. What triggers the next round of spawns in any given room. Sometimes it's a line that you have to cross. Sometimes it's a number of NPCs left. And there, especially if you're going to do legendary stuff, there is a player or a YouTube creator that I watch a fair bit. His name is Hutchler. He talks at length, if you're interested in it, in where your damage numbers come from, but he is a speedrunner. He and his team had or have the current world record speedrun time for District Union. And I believe at one time he held the world record for solo District Union.
DC-62 detected.
But he talks again at one of his videos, he talks at length about where the spawn triggers are for all of the rooms in District Union. If you're going to play it on Legendary, it's very highly worthwhile if you're interested in running it. That is... It's not the easiest clear, but it's a predictable clear. There are a couple rooms that are fairly major challenges. And, well, as an example, not that Fam is a speedrunner, but Fam, he's a member of my clan, has a channel, Fam Gaming, that he got a legendary solo clear District Union in 30 minutes. I don't know the exact time, but it was handy 30 minutes, and he did that solo. I don't know that I've gotten to clear ever in a group that quickly. So that's pretty impressive. And that was basically with a Strikers build with, I think, Fox's Prayer and 4-piece Strikers. He did have some armor built into it. I don't remember how many armor pieces he had. I think it was 2. And I think he was running Memento, but I'm not positive on that. Having a skill build with high weapon damage like this as a hybrid is highly beneficial when you got a gold come around the corner. If you don't have high damage at that point, you really your options are die in place or reposition to a place where you can fight back from cover. This gives you the third option of just shooting until they're dead. And the next box is right there if I had any keys left. Ow.
According to
Sorry.
the schematics Isaac pulled upstairs, you can lock that tunnel door from their control center. That should keep them from being able to transport those mortars loaded with DC-62.
And there is one last weapon lock up in here that you can open by shooting one of those wall boxes. So the wall box itself is right back there. And the room is in here. So like I said, lots of loot. Relatively predictable. Not a long mission. But what is it? It's 4 named bosses. I remember doing this one morning where I was running through this, on repeat solo, and I ran it 3 times in a row and got an exotic drop on all 3. I don't have that kind of luck routinely, but I did have that luck that morning. Damn it. All right. And I am aiming my skills. If you tap the deploy buttons, you will aim, and that's what the Q and the E that you see pop up is asking for me to pick a target, or asking to target that particular target. And that's, I don't know if you saw the numbers flash there, but that was me aiming the skills specifically at the named dude. So we'll sick the skills on this guy. Hopefully he'll show me his backpack. Now this wasn't a fast clear, but it was pretty drama-free.
Good work. Go on and head back up. The team from the campus has taken position inside the memorial.
My guess is that was probably an 18-minute clear-ish. We'll see when the timer pops.
On us, and we would have ended up like Castle. I can't tell you how relieved I am to have you on our side. Thank you. Today, we dealt a great blow to the True Sons infrastructure. We confiscated a massive cache of chemical weapons and eliminated a stronghold near the campus. You should be proud. You saved a lot of lives today.
$15.29. So like I said, it's a 15-minute mission-ish, which is, you can run this, and where you're, if the next time you were to run this again, the next time you run it, you won't be looting, so it'll be a little bit quicker. But again, decent accuracy, decent damage numbers. I took way less damage on this. I was playing far more conservatively. And I think our skill damage, yes, the skill damage is actually relatively high. It's a higher percentage of the total at this point. So because I've got 2 shooting platforms. And again, your real crit percentage and damage is roughly analogous to the last one we looked at. So I like this build better for solo. If I was going to play this in a group, I would switch back to the Cheska because 2 things happen when you end up in a group. One is you've got somebody else to draw aggro. So there's a little less aggro on you specifically. And secondly, you're in competition for those kills and those trophies. So if you run it, running Memento in some cases where you need the stacks, it's frustrating when your teammate is taking them all. You know, you wind them down to the point where they've got like 2 bullets to kill them. You go to reload at that point, and your teammate pops them, and you needed that trophy, you know, for bonus armor or whatever it happened to be. There's no point in losing your temper over it, although I have, because they're just running and shooting and not really paying attention to what it is. You know, it's not their job to determine that you need a trophy. So I typically, if I'm in a group, do not run the Memento, but solo it's best in slot. There's a better crit chance. That one's not as good. So I think we will now be, I'm going to replace, is that one a decent one? That one is the 5.7. This one, we're now going to replace the 4.8 with a 5.7, which should take us just over 50%. Yes. So incrementally, I mean, that's in the right spot. But I'm going to resave that. And I'm actually going to deconstruct. There was one here that was relatively low. That spare 4.8. I'm going to deconstruct that one because I've just gotten a better one, basically. So that's a 6.6, and I think we crafted a 6.8. Yeah. Now, one thing I haven't been opening a whole lot of, I've been getting them, but I haven't been opening them on camera, is the apparel event caches. So I don't want to bore you with me going through the animation of opening it unless you want me to, in which case I absolutely will. But this is more or less the 2 builds that I had in mind. I'm going to highlight the 2 of them and then probably wrap it up and get some sleep tonight because I did not sleep well last night. I am going to do a full build breakdown, and basically what you just saw, I'll do that run again at the end of the video, just so that there's gameplay footage, but you've already basically gotten a full preview. So if you run this on a character with watch levels, even with Memento, where I'm at 50%, you would be at 60%. If I'm at 79%, you would be at 89%, so you're going to hit that much harder. plus, plus, plus. Then you got additional accuracy and stability and yada, yada, yada. So this character is handicapped with a complete lack of watch levels on purpose. It's a completely viable build. You just saw a run through in 15 and a half minutes with looting on heroic with 2 directives. So you do have to play a little bit conservatively while you're building your stacks up, but then I typically play a skill build from cover anyway. In the case of this one where it's double companion, you're going to want, or single companion, my bad, double companion for group, single companion by yourself, but you've got the perfect companion here, which is an additional 20%, and I believe that to be multiplicative weapon damage. Although the tag wouldn't say it's increased, and that generally speaking is not multiplicative. That would be an additive. But we do have companion on here. If I'm not running Memento, I'm running a Cheska piece in its place that has companion as well, which increases weapon damage by 15%. The trade-off in this particular case is we're going to Memento, which when stacked gives us 30%. And it still has a weapon damage core, but it also has an armor core, and it has a lot of other benefits as well. So this is at this point, my preferred way to run this. So we'll go over this build first. I'll swap to the other build because it's a different specialization and there are some differences. So it depends on what gear you have, but this is a build worth considering. It starts with 4 pieces of strikers. I crafted these, so it's not beyond the realm of possibility to do that yourself. Basically, what I was looking for was crit chance or crit damage. You want 1 crit damage and 3 crit chance. Once you have those in place, you roll the weapon damage core over to a skill tier. And then in my case, as was seen at the start of this stream, I was optimizing the pieces at that point, using up my mule character, basically. It cost me somewhere around 16 or 1700 watch levels to get all of the gear of this build optimized. And this is all gear that I farmed for this build. I didn't have any of these pieces to start with. So we've got 4 pieces of strikers. The mask is a skill tier, crit damage, and a crit chance mod. Then we're running Memento. It's got weapon damage, an armor core, and a skill tier. And then it's got a crit chance mod as well. The backpack, this one I farmed for in Countdown. It took 1 single run on challenging, but with Electrique set as my targeted loot. And I got 3 or 4, it might have been 5, but let's say it was 3 or 4 to drop. Most of them had either armor, health, hazard protection, that sort of thing, or skill-based attributes. One of them dropped with crit chance. So I re-rolled the other one to crit damage and left the skill tier. And then it has perfect companion. We'll get into how you play that. Well, you saw how I played it. And then the rest of it, like I said, is the strikers pieces. Crit chance and a skill tier. Crit chance and a skill tier. Crit chance and a skill tier. So the advantage of this is designed to be a skill build, so you want to end up with 6 skill tiers. Running it this way, you have 6 built in, so you can run whatever specialization you want. And again, I opted to go to Gunner with this one to give me its benefits of faster fire rate on kill, 10% armor on kill, and every 3rd reload being 50% faster. So there are those DPS benefits to this build. I'm getting armor back in 2 ways with this build. One is the armor on kill from Gunner, and the other is from Memento and has 3% armor regen. You end up with 8,300k of armor, which is you're on the squishy side. But the reason you want the 6 skill tiers is Capacitor's damage scaling doesn't come from armor cores; it comes from skill tiers. It's 7.5 per. And we think that's 42.5, but give me 1 second because I want to know exactly, and I don't trust my mental math at this point. So 7.5 times 6 is 45. I was right the first time. So we get 45% additional weapon damage from having 6 skill tiers on top of its base damage. So that's analogous to having 4 red cores. on a build. 4 red cores would be, actually, sorry, 3 red cores. 3 red cores on a build gives you 45% weapon damage at 15 per. So the capacitor is truly the weapon you want for a build like this because of the way everything scales. The other thing with 6 skill tiers is your skills do basically maximum amounts of damage. So there's not any brand set attribute bonuses except for one, and we'll get into that in a second, that buff this. So it's about the 6 skill tiers, which is plus 120% damage and plus 420% health. These are expertise 10, which is an additional 10% damage. Cooldown's 25 seconds, which is lengthy, but Memento actually does buff that. Damage is 62k. The drone in this particular case, again, is a 6 skill tier. Its duration is 100, and I didn't talk about duration on the other one. 25-second cooldown, damage is 38k. You can do way better with a normal skill build, but again, this is classed as a hybrid. I'm doing a lot of damage as a shooter, whereas with a skill build, my skills are doing the bulk of the damage from a DPS perspective. So it's just a different way to approach a skill build. When you buff or when you pick up the trophies and you get fully stacked, you end up with 1% skill efficiency per stack for 30 stacks, which is 30% skill efficiency. Skill efficiency is skill damage, skill duration, skill haste, and skill status effects. I think that's the other one. But skill duration is obvious. It's how long it's out. Skill haste is how long it takes to come back. So that's actually 30% quicker than what's indicated by 25 seconds. Skill damage, again, I'm doing 30% more skill damage. And I believe the last one is status effects, but I'm not positive. I'm going to look that up. I wrote it down at some point, but that was before the move, and I've lost the sheet of paper that I had it written down on. And that's the long-term buffs. But then for every core that you have, you also get these for your short-term buffs, and they last 10 seconds. So we've got 1 red core, so we're getting 5% additional weapon damage. We have 1 blue core, so we're getting plus 10% bonus armor per stack. And we've got 6 skill tiers, so that would be an additional 30% skill efficiency, short term per stack. So again, if you're moving around and treating this more run and gun style, your skills are doing a lot of damage. And you're increasing their skill efficiency, which again is haste and duration and all of those other sorts of things. So Memento is a very powerful piece, which is why there's the claim out there, and I'm one of them that say it's best in slot for solo builds. So that's build number 1. It's build 2, but it's in the, you know where I'm going with that. So the other build, instead of running gunner, I'm forced to run technician because this one does have a weapon damage core on it. There are only 5 skill tiers as is indicated here. So I needed technician class for its passive to bring it up to 6, again, to buff capacitor. So it's the same 4 pieces of strikers. It is the same Henri with companion. Now we're running a Cheska piece to increase the crit chance because of its crit chance. It's a weapon damage core, crit chance, crit damage with a crit damage mod. With this build, I'm able to run all crit damage mods. And it works out to exactly 50% crit chance, but 123.5 crit damage. So the damage in this case is not coming from the 30% buff from Memento of weapon damage. It's coming from crit chance, crit damage. It hits, I think, from a feel perspective, it hits a little bit harder. It definitely is noticeable, but you're only at 660k armor, and you're in this case, you've got a single shooting platform. Even though the firearm's doing more damage, you're kind of forced, and I say forced, I felt I needed it, and I definitely did, to run the fixer drone so that I had some incoming healing, because there's nothing built into it on this build. There's no Memento with its 3% armor regen, and there's no armor on kill. So I needed to have some way of regenerating. Another option, if you didn't want to run the drone, would be to run the hive, the healer hive. It actually does more healing, but you cannot be mobile. You're fixed to a position. The other advantage to this one is this stays right with you, so the double companion is procced at all times. You're not you're not forced to stick right beside the turret like I am with the other build. So trade-offs. It's how do you want to run it. But those are the two builds that I put together. I cannot take credit for this one. This one is, I was thinking about this and starting to collect pieces. And, of course, I can't think of his name now. Tuxedo Bandito put out a build yesterday he put this build out yesterday. So I bent it in this direction, knowing that I was probably going to switch the backpack to Memento because of its benefits and my playstyle. So, and to be honest, I do prefer Memento with it. It feels better. I feel more secure playing it, I think is probably the best way to word it. So there's more inherent survivability. There's more armor. There's way more armor on kill. And the DPS, I believe, to be higher overall because I've given up a little bit of weapon damage, but I've picked up a second shooting platform because I don't need to run the fixer drone. I can run the striker drone, basically. So 2 iterations of a hybrid skill build based around strikers, which I didn't really talk at length about, but what that's giving us is weapon handling, which is your accuracy, stability, and reload speed, all of which help DPS. Rate of fire, which helps DPS. Jeff, have a great night, bud. Good to see you again on the stream. Yeah, have a great evening. Or if you're on your way to bed, enjoy your sleep. But Striker's Gamble really, truly is what we want here. Because we're not running the backpack, we can't bring this all the way up to a 1% weapon damage increase, but weapon hits increase total weapon damage by 0.65%, stacking up to 100 times, which is 65%. I will admit, I don't think I hit max stacks once in any of those engagements because I always forget to swap to the ACS-12 entering an engagement to build the striker stacks quickly. So we'll demonstrate that really, really quickly. If you have a higher fire rate assault rifle, it's easier to build up the striker stacks just with the assault rifle. Like if you're running a FAMAS, the Police M4, the St. Elmo's engine, they all have a high enough fire rate that within a mag or two, you're going to have built up your stacks. But if we switch this to 5, switch the target difficulty to named, which is what I typically look at my DPS with, you can see the green icon underneath the 0 from the 810 rounds of ammunition. That's my strikers. And there's no bar underneath it, which means I'm not stacked. So as I start firing at this target, you can see I'm building stacks. So that was 1 full magazine, 2 magazines, 3 magazines, and you can see the damage is actually fairly respectable with the firearm itself. I mean, we're hitting 7.1 million with a capacitor, and we're not fully stacked yet. So I, of course, talked and lost count, but we're now fully stacked. I'm going to reset this so we can get a running total. So it's nearly 10 million DPS based on these parameters: world and challenging, named enemy, etc., etc. So we'll call it 9.5 million DPS. Now I'm going to let those stacks bleed off on purpose. The advantage of the ACS-12 is every shot has 8 pellets, and each of those pellets, if they connect, build a stack each. So each shot is building 8 stacks rather than a bullet, 1 stack per bullet, basically. 42 rounds in the magazine, and you can do the math. So and unfortunately, this does take a little bit for the striker stacks to bleed off completely. If you're in a long-running engagement, you will probably approach having max stacks. It's easier to maintain them than it is to build them, is where I'm going with this. So that if you can build them up quickly on one target, you can probably probably maintain them. It's something that you should be checking with throughout an engagement. And as I said, I'm somewhat lazy when it comes to making sure that I'm where I need to be. So the better of the two ACSs to run is the named Rock and Roll, because it's got 30 rounds and you can generally get to max stacks in a single magazine. But we're at 0. We got 20 rounds. We're fully stacked. Swap to your assault rifle. And you're instantly basically right up to max damage on your second magazine as opposed to your 9th and 10th if you don't do that. So we're at approximately 9.5 million DPS with build number 1. If I swap to build number 2, because I am actually quite curious. Now, I don't have a memento stacks going for me at this point. We're going to do the reset. We're max stacked. Do a reset again. Switch to capacitor. Again, we don't have any memento stacks, and because of people spamming it in the range, I don't believe you collect them any longer down here. But you can see the damage is 3 million DPS less, not stacked. It should be higher than that fully stacked, but again, I've got 2 additional shooting platforms that can do that can fire at targets that I can choose that I can choose to aim them at. So I think the total DPS of this build is the same, if not slightly greater than the first build. It's coming from a blend of my skills and me shooting, whereas the other one, it's primarily me shooting. So again, trade-offs. But that's how you build striker stacks, and then you can, like I said, maintain them relatively easy just by firing at your target or targets. So again, it's about build management. Right, and again, Black, I don't know if that's intended behavior or a glitch. I don't know, but Double Companion is definitely doing more damage. But this build has better survivability, so it's which way do you want to play it? I know my choice. My choice is to run it with Memento because I prefer to have the survivability versus the raw DPS. Choices, basically. So those are the 2 hybrid builds. Basically, it's riffing on a theme. I mean, there are other choices you could make as well. You could, instead of Cheska, you could run Fenris because that increases your weapon damage. And again, if I was going to do that, I would run it with Companion for the double Companion interaction. Okay, that makes sense, Black. I'm not shocked. I didn't suspect it was intended behavior. I suspected it was likely unintended. But fun while it's active, and once it's patched, yeah, I would agree with that sentiment that it was not. If they're going to patch it, it was not intended. So with these 2 builds going forward, I think your better bet would be Memento overall once the patch goes into force. Right now, it's if you're going to run something like this, do you want more weapon DPS versus weapon and skill DPS, basically? So this is effectively a DPS build, but the DPS is coming from a combination of both your weapon and your skills, and that's basically what we mean by when I envision a hybrid build. That's basically what it is. It's upping the weapon damage at the expense of your skill damage. So, that's the stream. It's different not having the interaction of the guys in Discord, but it's also a lot easier to explain things because I don't have them talking in the headset while I'm attempting to explain something, because they don't know I'm talking because I'm not keying my microphone. So I'm not speaking to Discord. I'm just speaking to the stream. But again, I'm going to record this as a build in this format with Memento. I'm going to discuss the option to swap it out to Double Companion. but I prefer this. So this is the way that I'm gonna run with it. We can make this even more powerful again by applying more expertise to capacitor, which I don't know if we have enough receiver components yet, but we'll have a quick look. Yep, we can do one more. So that all of this sort of stuff helps. And it's relatively easy to do as you go along. Yeah, but then you lose the benefit of having perfect companion, which it is nice to have the 20% increase. You would also need to find, if you run Fenris that does not have a yellow core, you have to run Technician class. So you're giving up the Gunner class. So in order to replicate this, you would have to find a Fenris piece with crit chance, crit damage, with Companion already on it, assuming that you wanted to run Companion, depending on with whatever talent you wanted, so that you can roll it to a skill tier. So again, it's all riffs on a theme, and maybe we'll continue that Thursday night. Fenris chest with kinetic. That actually is really interesting, and I wish I wasn't as tired as I actually am. That one wouldn't work because we don't have enough of the things that we're looking for. I don't know that I have anything. I may have to go farming for that, and that might be something that I do over the next couple of days, just to see where that where that twists this, because I don't think I've got anything that's usable for that. No, well, no, that one's got unbreakable. That wouldn't work. I definitely have to go farming for it. There's one at the bottom. Hang on. Yeah, most of these have already been recalibrated, so it leaves me in a situation where I'm liking this setup over, and again, personal choice, personal preference. I like the added survivability of Gunner with its benefits of ammo regen, because again, with no watch levels, I have less ammunition than I do when I'm watch leveled up. So the ammo regeneration is very welcome. That's one of the things I noticed immediately in a couple of those first missions is I'm out of ammunition, or very close to out of ammunition. That's how I got myself killed on that on the Washington Monument the first time. Is I'm almost out of ammo. I've got one healer left, so I, like a dummy, decided to push at that point, even though I had just taken damage. I should have healed, didn't. Went after him, got myself killed, and had to start the mission. Had to start the control point over. So I prefer the survivability of this, and the fact that there are options for how you get your armor back. With armor on kill, stick your skills on a red bar, and you're going to get 10% armor back when the skills kill that individual. So that's the nice thing, is it gives you the option to sit back, let your skills get your armor back for you for a little bit, so you can catch your breath and then run from there. Yeah, absolutely. It is all about what you have available. And this, I farmed for it all or crafted it. So it's a relatively easy build to put together. To put it together, it's a harder build to optimize it to where you see it here, because like I said, it took almost 1,700 watch levels to fully optimize it to this point. But with, Memento I already had. This, I'm more talking about the other build, because this was the initial build that I put together. With this one, this was farmed. Everything else was crafted. And as I indicated at the start of the stream, this one was a pain in the crotch to get to where I needed it, because needs a strong word. I needed crit damage, crit chance, and companion. So it's three things that you're looking for. So in order to recalibrate one of them, I needed two of them, and I kept getting health and weapon handling and armor regen and all that kind of stuff. So when this finally dropped, they weren't half rolls, but they were maybe 60% rolls on all three, and I had to optimize all three of them, which was a bit of a pain in the hiney. Am I? That one's got damage. These ones all do on the Memento build. Okay. Yes, I am. Because the last time I saved it, it was before I deleted that mod. Because I picked one up along the way. Yeah, it's that one. There we go. So again, it's slight differences in philosophy on what you want. And that was kind of the intention behind this evening is I wanted to put together a hybrid build. I wanted to run double companion as a baseline to see what kind of damage numbers I was getting, knowing full well that this is the direction I wanted to go. This was the build I was planning on putting together, basically. I put the other one together to see it as a baseline, and I appreciate its damage, but I appreciate this one more for its survivability, and still does really good damage. So it more or less effortlessly just took on Lincoln Memorial and Heroic with 2 directives. So it wouldn't be a stretch with this build, I don't believe, to easily run it with 3 directives. Fragile armor wouldn't be bad. Cool skills I'm not going to run, and same with ammo hoarders, because it's the wrong builds for that. Needs a strong word. I want both skills, and I want to be running the capacitor. So I think it's this configuration how we'll record record in the morning, basically. I should have recorded the gameplay footage from that run through, but forgot. So is what it is. But at this point, I am fatigued. We'll just say that. I'm fatigued. So I'm going to call it an evening. As always, I really, truly do appreciate you guys hanging with me for an evening. It's always a lot of fun. I learn stuff because I get suggestions that I hadn't considered all the time in the chat. So I very much appreciate doing this. Hope you guys get something out of it as well, other than watching me speed babble for 3.5 or 4 hours. But wrong hand. I'm going to sign out at this point. It's Agent Meat signing off. Hope you guys have a great week, and we'll be back online Thursday night, and that's where I was going with this before I got distracted. I am going to record a video tomorrow. It will come out next week because I'm streaming Thursday night, and then I'm going to be away for a full week, basically. The next time I'm going to be available to be online is not this Sunday coming, the following Sunday. Because we're going to be in at the old house this coming weekend. We're staying over till Monday, and on Monday morning I'm jumping a flight from there to Toronto, and I'm working out of Toronto all week, so I don't have access. I have access to a computer, but it is incapable of playing the game, and it can barely play the game. It cannot play the game and stream, or play the game and record a video even. It's just not possible. So I'll be around, and for those of you that are on Discord, I will be around, but I won't be on. I won't have an online presence for about a week. So that the intention is to get something recorded that I can drop probably Tuesday or Wednesday next week. So that's kind of my plan for the next little bit. And with that, like I said, I will see you guys hopefully on Thursday night. I'm signing off, and catch you later.